Hello and a very warm welcome to you all. I am Vikas Nangia with Focus Live Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, the news and updates continue to showcase that coronavirus is on increase. Many believe that the second wave is already here. And what's more important for us to understand is that the people with underlying health condition, patients who are vulnerable, they need to take care of their most. They need to boost their immunity. They need to be in constant touch with their doctors. They also say that during this phase, many individuals have to be special cautious, and specifically individuals who have heart disease. Well, keeping that in perspective, we have a very special guest on our program, renowned cardiologist Dr. Avinash Gupta, with whom we will be talking about cardiology and COVID-19. Dr. Gupta, thank you so very much for joining us on Focus Live Season 3.
Thank you, Vikas, and thank you, TV Asia, for bringing up this important topic. As of last night, there are 1,072 patients in the hospital, of which 179 are in the ICU and about 79 are on ventilators. So this is really the second surge is here, and we cannot let our guard down at this critical juncture.
Yeah, the year 2020 has been a very, very challenging year, Dr. Gupta, and specifically keeping health crisis in perspective. My question to you in the very beginning is, why COVID-19 is threatening to heart patients?
Twofold. One is that patients since March have not been getting their routine care, and they are delaying their much needed care, and that now they are coming sicker and they are in heart failure, they are having heart attacks. That's one problem. But the other problem is that COVID does become more severe in elderly, which also have heart disease, and people who have COPD or people lung disease, diabetes, or hypertension, or immunocompromised. So it is a myriad of things, which mostly the inflammation and thrombosis, blood clotting and inflamed. The blood vessels get inflamed, the lungs get inflamed, and that's what happens with these high-risk patients.
What is the way, if they are at home, how can they monitor the condition of their heart and ensure that the heart is healthy?
When they are at home, we are encouraging them, if they cannot come to the office, to check their blood pressure, weigh themselves, look at their feet, make sure they are not swollen, and also monitor their shortness of breath. And if they are gaining weight like 2 pounds in a day or more than 5 pounds in a week, then they should call the doctor, and the doctor can adjust their medications.
On the contrary, if they're losing weight, is that something to worry as well?
Not for cardiac patients. That's nothing to worry about, as long as, because most of them are overweight, and if they are losing weight, that's fine.
Okay. And you mentioned about checking blood pressure. How often they should be checking their blood pressure?
It depends if they are on medications and if they are home, and they should check their blood pressure on a daily basis, just like their weight.
So the blood pressure and the weight, if possible, they should check it on daily basis.
Yeah.
That's an important information. Allow me to take some video questions of our viewers who are concerned about today's topic, and they're concerned about their heart conditions. This first question that I have received is from Satish Malik. He lives in New Jersey. Take a listen.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. This is Satish Malik. I have two questions on COVID-19. The first one I have is about the medicine remdesivir that has not undergone the usual standard testing and yet has been approved by FDA to be used for hospitalized patients. Would you please tell us why? What's the reason behind it? The other question I have is about vitamin D. It's very controversial. To begin with, there doesn't seem to be a consensus what should be considered the minimum level of it. Some people think that 20 to 40 nanograms per milliliter, whereas endocrinologists think that 40 to 60 perhaps is normal. And at the same time, Journal of New England Medicine had a report, I believe, 2010 or 11, that showed that perhaps even 10, as little as 10 nanograms per milliliter should be enough. And they recommend that testing should be done only on the high-risk patients and not everybody. So I should really appreciate your thinking about it, your comments about it, and where there's at all a relationship between vitamin D and COVID-19. Thank you very much for your response. Appreciate it.
First, let's take remdesivir. Actually, remdesivir is the only antiviral medication we have right now. Although you are right that the trials did not show mortality benefit, but there was a trend towards improved survival. So that's one reason. And it also cut down the duration of the illness from 14 days to 11 days. So on the basis of that trial, it has been approved. And also because of lack of any other better antiviral in market right now, it has been approved. And we are giving it for hospitalized patients who are moderately sick. As far as the vitamin D is concerned, the usual range we are looking at is between 30 and 100, but we don't go up to all the way up to 100, even 40, 50 is okay. And it has been seen that people who have low vitamin D have a worse outcome in COVID. So it is better to keep the vitamin D up to the normal range. And that's why we are advocating vitamin C, vitamin D, and zinc to all the patients at this time to boost up their immunity.
Yeah. Dr. Gupta, you mentioned about remdesivir. It helps the patients to recover instead of 14 days in 11 days. I wanted to ask you, is that the situation when a person is diagnosed at a very early stage, or even if the person is diagnosed at a later stage, you still think that remdesivir is a good alternate?
Remdesivir is good for moderate cases. Once the patients get sick and they are in ICU, or if they are on ventilator, then nothing seems to work, because by that time the lungs are inflamed, they are filled up with pneumonia, and they are also filled up with blood clots. So that time the steroids and blood thinners, they help. But in the beginning, when they are moderately sick, remdesivir reduces the viral load, and that's how it helps.
In the first phase of coronavirus, there was a lot of buzz, and a lot of doctors were also treating a lot of patients with hydroxychloroquine. President Trump was much in favor of hydroxychloroquine, but the constant debate was that it has a lot of side effects to the patients who are specifically dealing with cardiovascular disease. What would you say?
I would say that there are a lot of studies which have shown that it does not work in moderate or severe cases, like people who are already in ICU. And as I said, at that point, almost nothing works. But in early cases and mild cases, it may have a role. And also, it may have a role in post-exposure chemoprophylaxis, meaning that if you get exposed to, like healthcare workers in India, they are taking 2 tablets per week, and and also police personnel, they are taking it, and that seems to help prevent it. And also, but the larger trials are still awaited, so the jury is still out for early mild cases.
We're going to take a quick short break over here. On the other side of the break, I'll take some more video questions of our viewers, specifically geared towards cardiology and COVID. And I also want to touch upon your philanthropy efforts that you put in for the community. We'll talk all about that, but right after the short break. Stay tuned, viewers, and stay tuned, Dr. Gupta. We'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back. You're watching Focus Live Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, we are in conversation with Dr. Avinash Gupta, who's a leading cardiologist. And our topic of conversation is cardiology and COVID-19. Dr. Gupta, thank you so very much for joining us and sharing your expertise and knowledge with our viewers. I appreciate your participation.
Thank you.
November 1st is when the daylight saving kicked in. And they are also saying that daylight saving, yes, the good part is that it's for energy saving, but they also say that it has tremendous impact on the moods and behavior, as well as it has tremendous impact on heart patients. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, actually, I'm getting worried about the winter coming because most of the time we are holding our events and having get-togethers outside, but then it will move inside. And as you know, most of the cases are being spread right now because of small family get-togethers and parties with friends. Yeah. So that may move inside and that may increase the risk. And also, you are right, in New Jersey, especially here, we don't see much sun. And it's a difficult time for elderly patients who are alone at home because the mood gets gloomy and they do go into depression.
Yeah,
so that's a concern.
You mentioned about the cases which are coming of COVID-19. Either they are of indoor dining or indoor parties, which have just started in the festival season. The holidays are just around the corner for us. Diwali is just going to come soon after Diwali. Thanksgiving, the New Year's. One after the other, these all festivities will kick in. So in terms of indoor dining or indoor parties, how cautious we should be, what precautions we should be taking, that's one part of it. And part B, as we were talking about daylight energy in East Coast specifically, when the weather gets cold, in winter season, what is it that these heart patients can do? Is there a sort of a protocol or the special norms that you kind of guide your patients that these are some of the things that they should take care of? Whether it is in terms of checking their health or a particular diet that they should be taking to stay on top of their health?
Yes, it's a very important question. And I would like to say, first thing is to prevent. And
right.
Then
prevention is the best cure, no doubt about it.
Yeah. And then to build up your immunity so that if you don't get it, or if you get it, your body can fight it. And yeah. Then once you get it, then what to do, when to call the doctor, when to go to the hospital. So let's start with how to prevent it. And I will, although everybody knows about masking, but I will talk about it for a minute. Because if I have COVID and you are seeing me, and both of us are not wearing masks, then there's a 90% chance that you will get COVID. But suppose you are wearing mask and I am not, then there is a 30% chance. But suppose I'm wearing mask, then you have only 5% chance, even if you don't wear it. But if both of us are wearing mask, 1.5% chance. And we can reduce that chance to 0% by both of us wearing the mask and staying 6 feet apart. So mask and 6 feet apart. Plus, you have to wash the hands frequently for 20 seconds. And we cannot wash our hands every place, so we keep the hand sanitizer in the pocket. Yeah. And every time we put hand sanitizer and do it for 20 seconds again. Yeah. So, and try to do all the meetings outside, in the backyard or in the front yard, so that we are not in a closed environment. So that's prevention. And for to build up immunity, we should eat well, sleep well, and exercise regularly, and avoid alcohol and anything which can reduce our immunity.
Alcohol consumption during the Corona period is on its maximum high. People have been consuming because they're working out of home, and that has really affected their health quite a bit. And as I said, the holiday season is just around the corner. So I need some special advice from you from that perspective as well.
Well, we have to avoid alcohol, but if people do drink, we say that 2 glasses of wine may be good for heart. But more than that actually becomes detrimental. So anything in moderation is okay.
खास अगर मैं बात ये त्योहार के सीजन की करूं तो देखिए साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी में एक चीज तो मैं आपका रुझान इस और भी चाहूंगा डॉक्टर साहब कि हमारी साउथ एशियन कम्युनिटी के अंदर जो है इंडियन अमेरिकन में जो है हार्ट अटैक एक बहुत ही कॉमन सिम्टम है. एक तो इसको भी समझ लें कि क्यों कॉमन है, क्यों क्या वजह है. एक तो इसको हालांकि कई लोग समझते हैं लेकिन एक बार फिर से बेहतर तरीके से समझ लिया जाए. और ये जो छुट्टियों का मौसम आ रहा है जिसमें लोगों की खाने पीने की तादाद थोड़ी बढ़ जाती है, फ्रीक्वेंट मील्स खाते हैं, मीठा बहुत खाते हैं, इस तरह की चीजें होती हैं, तो उसके बारे में आप क्या कहेंगे?
तो this subject is very close to my heart and I can talk for hours on this. Actually, you'll be surprised to know that Indians, 25% of all heart attacks in Indians happen before the age of 40. And 50% of all heart attacks have happened before the age of 50. So you don't really get a chance. And this is unheard of in any other population. And I personally have lost so many friends and family and my community members to this scourge of premature heart attacks and strokes in Indians. Actually, Europeans have a high risk of having strokes and Americans have high risk of having heart attacks. But they have to have risk factors like high blood pressure, diabetes, smoking, cholesterol, family history. But the irony is that Indians don't even have to have these risk factors. Even without risk factors, they just get heart attacks in their 40s and 50s. And the reason is that their good cholesterol is low. And their bad cholesterol is a small dense particle. Their triglycerides are high. So, and there is a genetic predisposition which can be detected by LP little a, homocysteine, and C-reactive protein. So, half of the people who get heart attacks, they have normal cholesterol level. So that's why they have to go for advanced lipid testing. And especially people who have family history of heart attacks, like a male member having heart attack below age 55 or a female member having heart attack below 65. They have to take care of themselves early on. I mean, not wait till 40 because by that time it's late. And, I always say that taking care of your heart once you start having chest pain is like going to the doctor for a prenatal checkup when you're pregnant, when you start having liver pain. So that's simply not done. So we have to be very careful. We have to start taking care of our risk factors, which are blood pressure, diabetes, cholesterol. We cannot smoke, especially Indians. And if we have family history, then we have to be very careful from early on with diet and exercise.
Yeah.
The problem you said about the festivals coming, our downfall also is saturated fats and refined sugar. So we consume a lot of gulab jamun and jalebi, and they are full of saturated fat and sugars, so refined sugars. So we have to be careful.
There's an old saying, Dr. Gupta, that you are what you eat. And this question basically comes, I want to connect the dots by asking you that when you say people who have the family history, what should be their eating habits like? What regime they should follow to have a healthy lifestyle for them, and ensuring that they stay away for something like something like a heart attack.
There was a study done on whether vegetarians are safe or better off than non-vegetarians, but the trial showed that they are at the same risk. But that study was compromised because the vegetarians were consuming a lot of saturated fats and sugars. Because, when you don't eat meat, then you try to eat sweets and other things. rice, and so they should basically should not eat beef or pork, and chicken and fish is okay. Not too many eggs, but they can eat egg whites. And vegetarian food is always good, but people think that fruits and vegetables are okay, but not all fruits are good. They should eat more of apples, strawberry, blueberry, because if you are eating mangoes or grapes or watermelon or pineapple, there is a lot of sugar in that.
Yeah.
So now we know that it's not the fats which are the culprit, it's the carbohydrates, because that makes you gain weight, and that leads to blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol.
All right, allow me to take another video question. This one is from an individual called Sanjeev. Take a listen.
Hi, my name is Sanjeev. Thanks to our doctor today. I have a question related to heart issue today. My question is, recently what happened, one person died from heart attack while playing a tennis. And he just got a cardiac arrest, and he just died within 2-3 minutes. And that particular person didn't have any heart issues. He used to do regular preventive care checkups, no blood pressure, no sugar, no cholesterol, nothing. That person was totally fit, but still he died. So why it happens? How we can ignore this kind of scenario? How we can do the preventive measures to come to this kind of stage where you don't have any medical history, but still you died because of some reason? Is that really true, and is that really can happen?
That's a very important and a good question. Actually, if I could make a mission out of my life, I mean, I would be. I want to prevent heart attacks and strokes. I want to treat you before you get a heart attack and a stroke, not after it. And the person you are referring to, I mean, usually it has happened a lot of times in my. I've been practicing here, and I see quite a lot of Indian patients, and I have seen quite a few patients of Indian origin who just dropped dead in their 40s and 50s, or they were found to have blockages in all three arteries. Fortunately, that was detected by a stress test, and then angiography showed that they have blockages. They had to go for bypass surgery at a young age, or they got stents, and actually their life was saved. So what I would recommend is that you take care of all the risk factors, and nothing happens for no reason. There has to be a reason. If you dig deep, you'll definitely find something. If the person does not have high blood pressure, he doesn't have diabetes, then you have to look at the cholesterol and go for advanced lipid testing. And still, everybody should diet and exercise. And if you are high risk, then you should get a stress test. And you should basically see a doctor regularly, because I mean, people come to me and their cholesterol is a little high, and I tell them to take cholesterol pill, and they say, well, that gives me muscle aches and pains, that can affect my liver. And if I ask them to take a baby aspirin, they will say that I have heartburn with baby aspirin. But then they end up having blockages, they get stents, and after that they are taking 5 medications instead of 1 or 2, which I was giving them before. So that time they don't complain. So I would say that, yes, you should go to the doctor regularly and get yourself checked, and go for some advanced testing if you are high risk. And this way we can detect the problems sooner.
Dr. Gupta, when Sanjeev was asking the question, he used two terms while asking the question about referring about his friend who was playing tennis and had an heart attack and he passed away. He once said the word that he had a heart attack, and then he used the word cardiac arrest. A lot of people don't really understand what's the difference between heart attack and cardiac arrest. Can you explain the difference?
Yeah. First of all, why do people get heart attack? Sometimes the heart attack is the first symptom. I mean, you don't get any chest pain. Like if you're having chest pain, you'll go to the doctor and he will find that you have a blockage, and he will fix the blockage with a stent. But sometimes what happens, if your blockage is less than 50%, then you don't get chest pain. But one day during heavy exercise, like playing tennis, that plaque, the 30-40% plaque, that will rupture.
Right.
Once it ruptures, because of high cholesterol most of the time, or people who have hypertension, diabetes, or smoking, they ruptures. And once it ruptures, you form a blood clot inside the artery. And it's the blood clot which gives you the heart attack, because the blood clot fills up the whole artery within few minutes.
Right.
And that's why I say that they should take a baby aspirin also. So about the cardiac arrest, we all should learn basic life support, and we should all learn how to use AED, which is automatic external defibrillator. You can find it everywhere nowadays, in the temple, in the railway station. So it's very simple to use, and we should learn how to use it. So cardiac arrest, so when you get a heart attack, there are two reasons for death. One is the pump failure. That means the heart becomes so weak, it cannot pump blood. And the other is electrical, arrhythmia. So
Right.
they go into ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation, and the heart basically does not pump, and they die within a few minutes. So that's where so you should just see if the patient is down on the ground. You should ask somebody to call 911, and you should start resuscitating that patient with chest compression, and ask for AED if it is around. And then the AED will tell you what to do.
डॉक्टर साहब, कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हंसते हंसाते लोग इस बात को मजाक में भी उड़ा देते हैं, ये कहते हुए कि भी छाती में दर्द हो रहा था, हमने सोचा कि गैस होगी या कुछ इस तरह की परिस्थिति होगी, और कुछ देर के बाद ठीक हो गया। ऐसा होता है बहुत से लोगों के साथ कि थोड़ी देर के लिए दर्द हुआ और फिर अचानक ठीक हो गया। What is that symbolic of?
ये क्या होता है कि ये जो राइट कोरोनरी आर्टरी है, वो it supplies the bottom part of the heart, and the bottom part of the heart is lying right next to the stomach. So if there's a blockage in the right artery, or if somebody is having a heart attack because of the right coronary artery, it feels like indigestion, because the stomach is right next to it. And people think that they're having indigestion when they are having a heart attack, and they stay home, and the outcome may be bad because of that. So you cannot ignore this heartburn or indigestion. Actually, most of the time that patients go to the gastroenterologist, and the gastroenterologist send the patient to the cardiologist, that make sure it's not the heart, and then I'll take care of him by doing upper endoscopy.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take another short break over here. On the other side of the break, we'll take some more video question and some more important conversation related to cardiology and COVID. Viewers will be right back after these messages. Dr. Gupta, thanks so much for joining us on Focus Live Season 3 and talking on the topic COVID and cardiology. Thanks so much for your participation.
Thank you.
All right. So without further ado, in this segment, I'll get on to take the question of our yet another viewer. Take a listen. Would appreciate your reaction.
Hello, everyone. This is Anugyan Singh. Doctor, I have a question. If a person had a valve transplant in the past, and he or she gets infected with COVID, what kind of precautions or medication they should be taking?
Actually, patients who had valve transplant, they should be very careful. They should self-isolate themselves and not get exposed, so that they can prevent it, like we said. But if somebody does get the COVID, we treat them the same way. They have to monitor themselves for fever or loss of sense of smell or loss of sense of taste, and cough, and monitor their oxygen saturation on a regular basis. And if the oxygen saturation drops to less than 94%, that's the time to go to the hospital, so that they can start the usual treatment, remdesivir, steroids, and blood thinners.
Dr. Gupta, a lot of people who had COVID in the past, post-COVID, a lot of people are talking about the the side effects of COVID-19 that they have had. Post COVID, many of them have started expressing some or the other problem that they are feeling in their body. Most commonly, people have started saying that I feel the blood clotting, in their legs, or they feel that their arm is not functioning the way it used to happen earlier, and some of them have already started taking blood thinner on the advice of their doctor. What's your take on a situation like this?
Yes, I mean, this is a new virus and this is a new disease. So we are still learning. And we started getting this here since March. So it's only 7 months experience. And we have seen the most important thing is the lung. So they get this COVID pneumonia, which really not is a pneumonia. It's all inflammation and it's blood clotting. And sometimes it leads scar tissue in the lungs, and people are short of breath. So sometimes it can take 6 weeks to 3 months to recover, and sometimes they may never recover. I mean, we don't know that. I mean, we'll find out. Same thing with the heart. It's a virus, so it can cause inflammation of the heart muscle, which is called myocarditis. And it looks like they are having a heart attack, but it's all myocarditis. Troponin, which is a cardiac marker, goes up. All the inflammatory markers are up, and we think they are having a heart attack, but it's basically myocarditis. It can lead to arrhythmias. It can lead to weak heart muscle. It can lead to cardiomyopathy and congestive heart failure. And these are the heart issues. And there is also some reports that patients who are on ventilators or patients who are really sick, they are having some brain functions problem also. And they are saying that it feels like the person has become 10 years older than what they were, and there is cognitive decline.
If the person is also, suffered a heart attack in the past or is a heart patient, should they be giving their blood for plasma therapy?
Plasma therapy is safe. Patients who have recovered from COVID and they have antibodies in their blood, they should donate their plasma so that the others can benefit from it. The contraindication or people who should not donate will be the same as any other blood donation.
So it could not have any kind of an adverse effect to their heart?
No, unless they are suffering from serious disease like heart failure, or then they should not donate. But otherwise, should be no contraindication.
Between male and the female, what is your observation? Who are more prone towards getting heart disease?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because we think that women are protected and they have less heart disease than men, but that's not true. Women are protected only till menopause, because the estrogen, the female sex hormone, it helps them protect from heart disease. And actually, that's the reason we used to give them estrogen after menopause. But then we found out that it was causing breast cancer and uterine cancer, and we stopped that practice. So actually, after men are at higher risk, but women are higher risk than men after menopause. So that's one thing. And the second important thing is that women do have atypical symptoms. Like men, if they have angina or if they have blockage, they will get pain in the chest, center of the chest. It goes down your left arm, it goes up your neck. They start to sweat. Everybody knows that it's their heart. But women will get atypical symptoms like pain in the arm or pain in the jaw, or they have pain in the back or some atypical symptom. And it is very commonly missed. So they have to be very careful. And we have to be very careful with women also. And they should consult the cardiologist if they have some atypical symptoms.
What should be the regimen of patients who've gone through the severe case of heart attacks, who also have stents in their heart, what should be their day-to-day regimen like? What should be their life pattern should be?
Well, like I said, they should. Main thing is diet, exercise, and take your medications and see your doctor regularly. So diet. We used to think that the fat is the real culprit, but now we know that it's the carbohydrates which is the real culprit. Sugar, cake, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes, cookies. They are the real culprit because they cause weight gain, and then weight gain leads to other things like high blood pressure and diabetes. So we have to watch. We have to be on a low carbohydrate diet. It should not consist more than 20% of our diet. Actually, protein and fat is okay, except the saturated fat. And exercise is very important. Actually, I tell the Indians that they should watch their children's diet at 2 years of age. And the children, after 5 years, they should start exercise and maintain a healthy body weight. And body mass index, which is calculated by height and weight. In Caucasians, 25 is okay, but in Indians, it should be less than 23. And so that's the diet and exercise. Exercise is very important. People don't have to go to gym. They should just walk 2-3 miles a day and at a brisk pace so that they break out into a sweat. And I tell them that I tell my patients that when they say that I don't get time to exercise, I say, do you get time to eat? If you can find time to eat 3 times a day, you can find time to exercise. And also I tell them that you don't have to exercise every day. Just exercise on the days you eat.
Yeah.
So they laugh and they get the point. So diet and exercise and all the medications they should take. I always tell them that this is plan A. If it doesn't work, if you are getting side effects, call me because I have plan B in my mind. Yeah. So diet and come and see me. Otherwise, I cannot help you.
Yeah, this is important what you mentioned about exercise. Specifically about exercise, I wanted to ask you, are you referring more towards the cardio exercise or people who've had heart attack or cardiac arrest in the past, they can even go in the gym and lift some weights as well?
Yeah, they can do that. But people who have high blood pressure, they should do more aerobic exercise. And weight lifting is not good for people who have high blood pressure or heart condition. But, if you're talking about 5 pounds lifting, that's very okay.
Yeah. A lot of people in their diet pattern these days also, talk about salt. And they say that some people talk about iodized salt, some people talk about Himalayan salt, pink salt, sea salt, all kinds of things are happening. What is an advice coming from cardiologists to the patients?
Well, for blood pressure is a major issue. I mean, we eat a lot of salt, and our blood pressure, we have the largest data on blood pressure because everybody who gets life insurance has blood pressure checked. And the lower your blood pressure, the longer you live. So 115/75 is the ideal blood pressure with no risk. But add 20/10 to this blood pressure, which will be 135/85. We don't treat that. We say it's borderline. And if you add 20/10 more, then it becomes 155/95. Even that is sometimes not treated. So the first treatment is to watch your salt, which should be 2 grams, not 4 grams, which you can get in usual diet, but 2 grams salt. And also exercise, aerobic exercise, and try to lose some weight. So that should be the first exercise before you start the medications.
But what's your advice? What kind of salt they should be intaking, iodized or sea salt?
Iodized salt is good because it prevents thyroid problems too. And actually, the salt we recommend for people who have high blood pressure or heart disease is not sodium chloride but potassium chloride. So that's the salt substitute.
Yeah,
potassium chloride.
All right, we're going to take a quick short break over here. On the other side of the break, some more interesting facts about cardiology and COVID. And more importantly, we'll talk about Dr. Gupta's philanthropic endeavors on the other side of the break. Stay tuned and keep watching Focus Live Season 3. Welcome back. You're watching Focus Live Season 3. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to be in conversation with Dr. Avinash Gupta, and we are talking about cardiology and COVID. In this segment, I also want to touch upon the philanthropic endeavors that Dr. Gupta is involved into. Dr. Gupta, once again, thank you so very much for joining us on Focus Live, and I want to congratulate you. The efforts put in by Mokapi. You are the president of Mokapi as well. You were out with your team, with volunteers, spreading the masks, the images that we see on the screen right now. So tremendous work put in by you. Talk about the philanthropic endeavors. You are active with Siddhivinayak Temple in Toms River, New Jersey, with Mokapi, and then you're also the president of Bihar and Jharkhand Association of North America. कहाँ से इतना टाइम निकाल पाते हैं आप?
You have to have the interest. I mean, it does take time, but I have to tell you that it's very fulfilling and very rewarding. And you have to have a good team. So I have a very good team at Bihar Jharkhand Association of North America. My committee members are very dedicated, and together we did so many webinars which were broadcast live here and back home, and increase the awareness of COVID. And not only that, we raised funds, and in first phase, we distributed the masks and sanitizers. And then in second phase, we distributed meals, uncooked ration for the whole family for the whole month. We did that in various parts of India. And with Mokapi also, we sent meals, hot meals to the nurses, to the doctors in all the area, local hospitals. And with Temple, we have a group of doctors who were at the forefront taking calls during lockdown. If somebody is sick, we used to send them prescriptions. We even had volunteers who picked up medications from the pharmacy and delivered at their doorstep.
I have a video message from someone who's really fond of you. He's the former president of FIA New York Tri-State as well, comes from Bihar, and hugely impressed by the efforts that you put in the community. Take a listen.
Hello, my name is Alok Kumar. I'm the former FIA president. Thank you, everyone. And the person who is in the panel today, Dr. Avinash Gupta. By profession, he's a doctor, but he's handling so many community things. He's a president of Bihar Jharkhand Association of North America, Bajana. He's a president of Mokapi, and he's also chairman of Sri Siddhivinayak Temple, Toms River. A person who holds all different kind of the designation. It defines what kind of the person he is. He is one of the best human beings I ever met. His leadership defined everywhere how cordial relationship he developed among his team members. He's one of the best person I ever met. Thank you.
So clearly seems like that Alok is a huge fan of yours. Dr. Gupta, I want to ask you, the affection, the love, accolades, awards, all that you get, it brings in a lot of responsibility as well towards the community. How do you ensure and stay committed towards the community affairs?
That's true. First of all, thanks Alok ji for his kind words. He has been a great help in all the organizations to help us help community members. And because I have to tell you that it's the love and support of the community which helps me to achieve all this. And every time somebody comes forward, it encourages us to do more. And together we all can do much more than what we can do by ourselves.
I really want to talk to you about Siddhivinayak Temple in Toms River, New Jersey. What a fabulous place of worshipping, and the deity that you got all the way from Mumbai, from Siddhivinayak Temple itself. Talk about the temple, how it has evolved over the years, the numbers of devotees coming from all over United States, because it's one of its kind temple, Siddhivinayak Temple in America.
We got together in 2012 because there were no temple in the town and people have to travel for an hour and a half, especially the mothers, to keep their children close to the Indian roots and culture. So we also have an Indian Culture and Community Center there, where we run Gurukul classes. About 35 students children are enrolled there now. They learn about Indian culture and heritage. And we have a senior circle. The temple is on the form of Siddhivinayak temple in Mumbai. And we get a lot of devotees from all over the country. And we are getting good donations from everywhere, and we have a full-time priest, and it's open 7 days a week.
I still recall the public event that you hosted with Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the former cricket captain. His presence at the Siddhivinayak temple in Toms River, New Jersey made a whole lot of difference.
Yeah, so he's from Ranchi, from where I belong, and he has put Ranchi on the world map. And he came all the way from Ranchi to inaugurate the temple in 2015. And it was a huge event for us, and we will be ever thankful to him for that.
You're also a role model for not only for members of the community, but for your close family as well. I have a surprise video message from your family member. Take a listen and react to that.
Hi, my name is Dr. Varsha Gupta, and I'm one of the proud niece of Dr. Avinash Gupta. I feel very privileged and elated to have this opportunity to introduce him. He has always been a role model and inspiration to me, not just because I always wanted to become a compassionate physician like him, but also in some way I always dreamed to be a person like him. When I think of my uncle, I think of hard work and I think of community service. He is a perfect example of how a person is not defined by his personal achievements, but the way he used it and contributed in the wellness of his own family, friends, and community. His contribution towards Sri Siddhivinayak Temple, Mokapi, and Bajana are just a few examples. Also, I would like to especially mention his recent determination towards COVID-19 awareness. I'm so proud and I admire him a lot. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity, although I feel I do not know if I did justice to it. Thank you.
It breaks my heart because as of now, she was at the front line of taking care of COVID patients, and as of now, she is down with COVID herself.
Oh my gosh.
But she is doing better. She is home for last 10 days. And hopefully she will go back to work on Monday.
Yeah, no, we definitely would like her to resume back to her work, and more essentially, may God give her all the strength and she feels better. Hats off to all the doctors, including yourself, Dr. Avinash Gupta. You've been on the front line as well. You guys have been doing some tremendous work for the community at large. As we wrap up this conversation, your final remarks on the topic, cardiology and COVID.
These are very difficult times, especially with the second surge, and we all have to. We cannot let our guard down. So please stay home, stay safe, wear the mask, stay 6 feet away from anybody else, and wash your hands frequently. Plus, I also want to thank you, TV Asia, and especially our Indian consulate, which has been very helpful and working with us together to help the community, whether it is parents who came here to visit their sons and daughters and they got stranded here and they ran out of medications. One person's pacemaker defibrillator battery was running out, and they reached out to us and we could do everything we were able to do. So together, we have done a lot, and thank you for bringing it up.
Dr. Saab, thanks so much for joining us on Focus Live Season 3, and keep up the good work that you continue to do, and may God give you all the strength. During these tough times, we need the doctors the most, and really appreciate your services towards the community.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe.